Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So, in the run-up to the this election in 2016, and when you get a chance to pull the lever of democracy and install a new leader of the free world into the White House, the highest office in the land, and perhaps around the globe, things have gotten considerably more interesting than I think they've ever gotten, at least in my lifetime, in terms of what the hell is going on. It's weird, and we're all trying to make head and or tail of the happenings over the last couple of weeks. And we're all seriously wondering about the election that's coming up. And we are all wondering about the 4 years that will ensue after that. And in the run up to the election, I thought it would be wise. I thought it would be prudent to talk to as many people as possible with as many different varying political beliefs as possible as we could in our Punk Rock Politics interview series. We've talked to guys from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, from Metallica, from Rage Against the Machine, several adult entertainers, and several comedians. Why? Well, look, you ever heard the old expression, too much agreement kills a conversation? We are actively seeking out people that perhaps think differently from us and trying to understand why they think the things that they do. And there's a point to all this. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kidding. You've definitely noticed. It's impossible not to notice. But as a country, as a people, as a bunch of folks, I don't recall a time in my adult life when things felt more divided than they do now. People straight up don't get along. And it seems trite, but it's indicative of how people are thinking at the moment. I woke up this morning, grabbed my phone, checked my work email, opened up Facebook, saw 3 or 4 different posts from 3 or 4 different people that I thought were smarter and better and kinder that said, well, just deleted another 18 friends because of what they think of what happened in the last debate. Good to know who my real friends are. It's so silly and foolish and awful. You know the old expression, divide and conquer? That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on in America. Americans are being divided and conquered. People putting so much effort into someone else's career. And that's exactly what political leaders have turned America into at the moment. So my job, as I see it, is to try and bridge gaps of understanding. How? Well, look. The point of getting as many different people with as many different beliefs in here as possible is not to put someone in a situation where we disagree with them and we say, gotcha. It's not to get somebody in here who we agree with and say, oh, you're so right. You're so right. And give each other those verbal reach arounds that people seem only too happy to do in the world of talk radio. No, the idea is to understand people, who they are and how they got to believe the things that they believe. And look, you don't have to agree with them, but I would love it if somebody comes in here with a different belief than you, if you make an effort to understand how they got there. Because what do we all want in this world? We've said it time and time again. We all want the same things. We all want a roof over our heads. We want to be able to do some kind of work that is meaningful to us in some way, that provides for us. We want more money at the end of the month and less month at the end of the money. We want, if we have kids, for those kids to have a shot at an education and a shot at a future. What we want in the end is almost universally the same. We just have some disagreements about the best way to get there. But if we can stop and take a moment and recognize that we're all working toward the same stuff, then maybe we can have a conversation and perhaps even learn something from one another and get there faster. So, bearing that in mind, I'm very excited that our guest on the show today is stand-up comic Jeremiah Watkins. You might have seen him at the Comedy Store, the Improv, the Laugh Factory, a whole bunch more. His show Stand Up on the Spot was named one of 5 funniest nights in America by the folks over at Gentleman's Quarterly. Yes, gentlemen like to laugh at Jeremiah Watkins. He also plays second in the Big Sky Comedy Festival. He has performed at Just for Laughs in Montreal, Comedy Central's New York Comedy Festival, South by Southwest, Riot LA. You've seen him on on Comedy Central's Roast Battle, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he can be seen starring in the film I Lived and The Bet. Welcome to the show, Jeremiah Watkins. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, what an intro. Thanks so much for having me.
It's impressive. It's an impressive list of credits that you've got. And you know what? It brings up an interesting question, one that I ask every single comic that comes here. And I have so much respect for stand-up comics for so many different reasons, which we'll get into next. But my question to you is, how do you wind up doing all of this stuff on your own? It's unbelievable, and we'll get to it next.
Let's start the show. Hot 2, hot 3, hot AZ from your radio live and uncut. Tonight, you're cutting loose and having fun. Cause that's my job and my job's about to get done, yeah.
Always fair and mentally unbalanced. KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
Our guest on the show today as part of our Punk Rock Politics interview series is stand-up comic Jeremiah Watkins. You might have seen him on Jeff Ross's Roast Battle or Jimmy Kimmel Live or in the movie The Bet or I Lived. You might have seen him at the Laugh Factory. But what I find interesting is that if you go follow Jeremiah Watkins on Twitter, which you should, at Jeremiah Standup, you'll see that pinned to the very top of his page is the following tweet. I am beyond honored to be a paid regular at the Comedy Store. Explain to those of us that don't know why that's such a big freaking deal.
Yeah, so basically, if you've never been to the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, it's on the historic Sunset Strip, and if you look around the Comedy Store's walls, there's names that are written all over it. A lot of great comedians in history, Jim Carrey, Steve Martin, Seinfeld, Chris Rock, the list goes on. It is very, very difficult to become a paid regular at the Comedy Store, which means when you become a paid regular, you get your name on the wall, and you are a part of the Comedy Store's official lineups that basically represent the Comedy Store. And I've been working towards that for over the last 5 years, and it recently happened about a week ago where I showcased again, and I got passed, as they call it. And the newest paid regular, along with my friend Jessica Michelle Singleton.
Very, very cool, which means you are now part of an historic legacy. It's amazing because, as we were talking about before, and we find this over and over again with so many of the comedians that we have on the show. All of you do so much. It's insane. And how, your list of credits is humongous. And it makes me wonder, how does one do what you do? I mean, besides being able to make people laugh standing on stage, telling jokes that you came up with, where do you even begin to how did this all happen for you?
Yeah, I grew up being a huge fan of Saturday Night Live and sketch shows like that, and it really just kind of inspired me to get into comedy. I got whenever I got to the age where I was like, I wonder if I could actually do this. I started kind of researching some of my favorite comedians, like how they got their start, and it was either stand-up or improv. And one of my big influences is Chris Farley, and he went to the Second City in Chicago. And whenever I was about to move out to Los Angeles from Kansas, I knew I was either going to move to Chicago, New York, or L.A. And it really just came down to L.A. I just felt like I could do kind of a little bit of everything in L.A. And I started doing improv and stand-up out here, and then it just kind of repetition, just like thousands and thousands of hours of, just trying to get better at the craft. And yeah, it's just something that I'm in love with, and so it makes it not really a job, but more of something that I want to do every day. So it makes it easier to accomplish goals and do festivals and different stuff because I love what I do so much.
I have so much respect for stand-up comics. Like, if I had any cojones whatsoever, I would be doing that. I don't even know if I'm funny enough to do it. I don't know if I'm funny at all. I don't think I am. But the thing that I admire the most about what it is you do and what it is every stand-up comic I know does is that it really is the purest form of entertainment in the world, where you win or you lose on your own merits. It's one person and a microphone, and it's not like being in a band where if you have a lousy night you can turn around and blame it on the bass player. It's just like you really take your life in your own hands when you do it. And the more I look into it and the more I see the amount of work that goes into it and the amount of passion that you have to have for it to be anything in that world. It blows me away what it is you're capable of and how independent you are. It's incredible how you're so self-contained.
Yeah, you have to be a very self-motivated person, because for years, I mean, I still go to open mics every week. I may not need to. I have like enough shows going on, but I want to push myself where I'm going to open mics all the time still, and you have to wait around, and it's very humbling, especially going up in front of other comedians that you know or you don't know, and a lot of times you bomb at open mics because it's other comedians that you're performing for. It's not real audience members. So if you get even a titter of laughter, you're like, oh, this is going to kill. This is going to
kill in front of real people, yeah.
Right. But, yeah, it's just something that you have to love to do, and I've been fortunate enough to be a part of some ensemble-based shows through my stand-up, through people knowing me through my stand-up, like Roast Battle. That's a big ensemble show, and the Comedy Jam, and I do the show Kill Tony on Mondays at the Comedy Store. It's like a live podcast with a panel, Tony Hinchcliffe and Red Band through the Death Squad Network, and all those shows are ensemble-based, so even though I'm a stand-up comedian, I've found other ways in comedy to do, comedy teams or do ensemble work, and that's what I think has given me the ability to get out there a little bit more. Is I'm willing to work with others, and I really enjoy working with others.
When you go into a situation like the Jeff Ross roast battle, is that wildly intimidating? Oh, the music's playing us off. I lose track of time when talking to folks like you because you're so wildly interesting and fascinating. We'll talk about how intimidating or not dealing with Jeff Ross is next.
To the crown. Everybody bow down.
Real radio. Real radio. 104.1.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
Our guest on the show today is stand-up comic Jeremiah Watkins. You might have seen him on Jeff Ross's Roast Battle, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Bet, the movie, I Lived. The folks over at Gentleman's Quarterly Magazine are a big fan of his ha-has, and he's as are the folks over at BuzzFeed. He's been part of the Groundlings and so much more. But my immediate question is, Jeff Ross's Roast Battle, is that a wildly intimidating situation to walk into?
I mean, yes. I'll say yes right off the bat. It's a crazy show. For anybody who has watched the show, I'm part of The Wave, which is myself, Jamar Neighbors, and Willie Hunter, and we have a very different kind of job on the Roast Battle show. If you haven't seen it, it's two comedians going head-to-head, verbally insulting each other, kind of like 8 Mile, rap style without the raps. It's just insulting each other, just jokes head-to-head. And what we do as The Wave is whenever the comedians hit a joke, that goes over really well with the audience, we explode and we do something crazy on the stage, like a little sketch, a little vignette, or a turn up, as we like to call it, and we just go nuts. And so we have a very different kind of job. So I feel like our job is way more fun than a lot of people who end up battling, because the stakes are much higher for them, because we're reacting on how well they do or how poorly they do. We kind of represent the voice of the audience. But like as a battler, I think that the stakes are much higher, because you don't know how well you're going to do, and you don't know if you're going to have three crazy guys running up on stage to hype up your jokes or crap on them. So.
Well, I mean, like, but just that environment, like, Jeff Ross, like, I went and saw Jeff Ross do stand-up a little while ago, and I was, like, carefully selecting my seat. It was open seating. I was just like, I want to be close enough to see, but not close enough to where he can see me. And I didn't have to worry about him pulling me up on stage or making fun of me, because, as you might know, if you've seen him, he brings up some folks that want to volunteer to be roasted. But it's, it's a vicious, competitive environment, even when you're just in the audience. So I was just like working with him or for him, I got to imagine that or is he just like a completely gregarious to work for in that situation?
Well, it's funny. He so whenever he's in roast mode, I mean, he's relentless. But
he roasted a baby when I saw him. Someone had a kid at the show. He's like, stupid, adorable baby, sitting there drooling. You'll never amount to anything. I was just like, oh my gosh, it was hilarious.
Yeah,
great.
I love him because he's an equal opportunity roaster. He goes, if anybody is old or fat or handicapped, please make your way towards the stage. But he makes sure that he always has people volunteer, where it's not like him just being like, hey, you're a real piece of garbage over there, like in the corner, in the back. He makes sure that people want to be involved before he just like goes after people. But he's one of those guys where I've been roasted by him, and it's hilarious. But he's one of the sweetest, nicest guys you'll ever meet. And I think that comes through in his comedy. It's never like hurtful the way he's very good at like the way he handles people whenever he roasts them. Mm-hmm, and I guess that's why he's the roast master, Right.
Yeah. But I love jokes. Like I love just anything that can make people chuckle or laugh. Like I love jokes, and like anyone that has made their life out of that is so, I don't know. It's awesome to me. For you, what was it for you? What was the aha moment where you went, I have to do this? Because if you talk to musicians, 9 times out of 10 they have a show that they saw, or they have a record that they got, or maybe a performance on TV that they witnessed. And I'm always interested to hear with comedians, what was it for you? Like, what grabbed you and made you go, this is what I must do with my life?
It was really watching guys like Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live, and watching movies like Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey, or like Animal House with John Belushi. I would see those guys make my parents laugh so hard in a way where I'm like, I want to do that so bad. Like that reaction that they're getting out of my parents, like me just seeing pure joy out of them. I'm like, I want to do that for the world. I want to do that for everybody. That seems like the best thing ever. And that's really what kind of got me hooked into comedy.
Were your parents the first people you made laugh?
Yeah. I grew up doing like mimicking and doing voices and impressions and stupid stuff. And my mom was always like, "Oh, you're gonna be a huge star, Bubby." It's like always instilling like a super way too much confidence in me, to the point where I've never had a problem with confidence, but I've had to learn through trial and error and real world experiences that I'm not as good as I thought at certain things, because my mom was telling me I was perfect in every way. But good mom.
No, that's awesome. So like your parents actually, because like you tell. I remember I told my father once when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was just like, "Hey, I think I want to do stand-up comedy at the 8th grade talent show." I'd been like learning verbatim Sam Kinison and Eddie Murphy, and I could make all my friends laugh by reciting their albums to him. So and my dad looked at me, he's like, what if nobody laughs? And that, like, right there, just killed my stand-up comedy, any inkling that I could ever, like, do what it is you do, like, just dead in the water, thanks to my dad going, what if nobody laughs? But you had supportive parents, which is awesome. But how, like, what was it like for you when you said, I want to do stand-up comedy? This is what I'm doing. I mean, it sounds like your mom was almost pushing you toward the stage.
Yeah, no, I grew up doing, like, plays and dramas throughout, like, grade school and high school and that kind of stuff. And so she always loved seeing me act and perform on stage. So she had known that I could do well on stage in that setting. So she's like, basically, of course you're going to be great in this other setting. It's a stage. Come on. How different can it be? It's very different, but which I found. But yeah, she was super supportive. My dad's always just been like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, if you want to do that, that's great.
Did you go to college?
I did 2 years at a community college, Johnson County Community College in Kansas, and I was like, "This is all I need. I'm not going to need a 4-year degree for this stand-up." I was like, I knew that I was coming out to LA anyway, so I started saving money and just working as hard as I could and doing as many jobs as I could, leading up to the point of moving, just to save up money to come out here. So I was like, I don't want to go in too much debt. I'll get this 2-year degree, and then I'll book it out to LA and hit the ground running.
And when was the first time you got on stage with the express purpose of making people laugh?
Ooh, interesting. I don't know. I've done like little bits and sketches like a lot over the years. I remember the first turning point where I was like, where I felt the feeling. I had the feeling come over me where I was like, oh, I think I can actually make money at this, which that was like a very different feeling than just like kind of goofing off in front of your friends. I did this, I wrote this like original song that I like composed like through GarageBand, and I did it for my my brother's wedding, for him and his wife, just a comedic song about them meeting and all that stuff. And this song, I performed it with like a wireless mic at my brother's wedding, and this was whenever I was like 19 or 20, and the song just crushed at the wedding. I know it's like it's friends and family, but it like destroyed. And I looked around, and like the response that it got, like people coming up to me afterwards, I was like, I think I could do this for money. Like I think I could make a living doing this.
How old were you?
I was 19.
Again, I mean, look, you know, not to take anything away from the aha moment that you had. That's definitely eureka, and it's awesome. But it is different from, look, you're what you do impresses me so much because you're going into so many different adversarial situations where it's like, a bunch of, when you do open mics, that's crazy because it's a bunch of people annoyed that you're disturbing their conversation with your craft. And like, and you had, you had a great and receptive audience at the wedding. But like, when did you take everything in your hands, get on stage, and be like, "All right, strangers, I'm going to make you laugh now"?
That was as soon as I moved out to LA whenever I was 20, and I started stand up right at 21 because a lot of places in LA you can't perform unless you're 21 on the stages, just because bars, alcohol licenses, all that stuff. So I was like, as soon as I turn 21. I'm going to start stand-up. And that's whenever I started hitting open mics like every week, and then it turned into every day and writing all the time. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And that's whenever the bombing began, where it was like I'd have really like good moments, and then you just bomb horribly, and then you'd have really good moments, and then like the longer you do it, the more consistent you become, where the bombs are fewer and far in between, but they still sneak up on you, where you're like, wow, okay, that was a reality check. I haven't felt that horrible feeling in a while. Cool, good to be. Does it
still bum you out the same way it did? Like when you bomb?
No, I mean, of course it bums you out because you're like, they didn't laugh. Like, oh, thanks so much for that sound effect. Yeah. Of course, it bums you out because you're like, well, I didn't accomplish what I wanted to, making people happy and them excited about the material that I'm doing. But you don't hold on to it as long. You're like, well,
right.
You know, it was the crowd, or I always listen to my sets after I perform. I'm like, or it was me, or I dug myself in a hole that I never was able to dig myself back out of. And you just kind of analyze it the longer you're doing it, and you're like, how do I prevent this from happening? Like, if I come upon this same situation again, and basically you build your arsenal up of all the different ways that you've bombed over the years, and then it's like a Rolodex. If you get into that situation again, you're like, oh well, I bombed this way last time doing this, so let me try to fix this, and it becomes very surgical, like you're a comedy surgeon.
Do you find that, like, a lot of folks, like, and sorry if I'm dissecting your craft a little bit,
no,
but for
good.
those of us that don't understand it, for those of us that just watch it and enjoy it, it's amazing because you see somebody on a stage, they make you laugh, you go home happy, and it's awesome, but, like, everything that goes... everything that all the work that happens up till that point is something that is a mystery to all of us. So sorry if I'm a little overly dissecty of what it is you do, but like the way you described it is comedy surgery, like analyzing past failures over and over again so you can learn how to avoid them. And I imagine you do the same stuff with things that work. How many folks do you know in comedy that are that sort of, like, I guess, analyze what they do so heavily? Is it all of you?
It's definitely not all of us. I think that it's very apparent. I mean, the people who have comedy specials and the people who have late night sets, and that's, you know, those are both two things that I'm working towards currently. Anybody who you see that's like a well-respected comedian, they spend a lot of time perfecting what they do, and that really separates the people who are at, you know, a beginner or intermediate level to the pros. The guys who, like Louis C.K. or Chris Rock or Bill Burr, like, you know, that caliber guy who can go in, do a set, and it be brand new stuff that they're working on, and then throughout the week they have a new 5 or 10 minutes just like in that 1 week. That's like what separates somebody who is just throwing stuff at the wall versus somebody who's really analyzing their jokes and seeing where the lulls are in their in the set, and then fixing it and not keeping it the same. Because a lot of people you'll see who don't progress in the comedy industry, you'll see them doing the same material a year or two later. You're like, that joke didn't work a year ago. What are you doing? What are you doing, man? You gotta fix it. You gotta let go, or you gotta fix the joke. Like, so that's why I compare it to surgery, because you really have to be meticulous and comb through your set and figure out what works and what doesn't as you go on. If you're wanting to be good at any level.
We continue to talk about being good at any level with Jeremiah Watkins next. Thank you so much for hanging out. Tweet him at Jeremiah Standup is where you can find him on the interwebs.
Boy, you should talk a bunch, but then I've got a hunch that if I step to you, you'd back right down. Can't see it through your bitch and you're like Kool-Aid. You're just 10% juice. Punk. And I picture my fist smashing through your teeth.
Real radio. Real radio.
104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Our guest on the show today as part of our Punk Rock Politics interview series is stand-up comic Jeremiah Watkins. We've been talking to him about how he became the stand-up comic that he was, how he became a paid regular at the Comedy Store, part of their glorious heritage, how he became all the things that he became, and we'll continue with that after we get into a little bit of news. Shall we do some news, Funkhauser? I guess
sure. Sure. Let me just open up the newspaper here. Ooh.
First and foremost, how are you?
I'm all right. It's about it. Typical day. Somebody turned on fall here in Southern California, and I forgot a jacket. So
there you go.
That. Miley Cyrus says when she was younger, she didn't understand her sexuality or her gender.
Huh. Yeah, what is it? What is it she says she is now? Pansexual. Miley Cyrus says that she's pansexual. And I don't know exactly what that means, but just to be on the safe side, not letting her anywhere near my cookware.
He sounds culinary.
It does sound culinary. Hold on a second. I actually thought I saw something about this earlier today. I thought it was very interesting. She said she doesn't like the term bisexual because she's pansexual. She doesn't feel straight or gay or even male or female when it comes to attraction. She doesn't, quote, think about someone being a boy or someone being a girl. She said her first relationship in her life was with a chick. Said she grew up in a very religious Southern family. Even at that time, when my parents didn't understand, I just felt that one day they were going to understand. And she figured out what she was or wasn't when she went to the LGBTQ Center in Los Angeles and met her first gender-neutral person and said, I related to that person more than I related to anyone in my life. I think it's good. I think it's healthy. I mean, like, Miley Cyrus is, when it comes to entertainment value, look, utterly ridiculous in so many ways, and that's her craft, and that's what she does. I don't know if you care for it. Personally, it's not my bag just because I can't get into the music, and if I can't get into the music, all the rest of it is pretty meaningless. But in terms of
one for my side, is that what you're saying? One for my side?
One. Well, here's the thing. Like, look, we've talked about this over and over again on the show. Like, if you are a straight guy or girl living in America, I think the percentage of straight people that sort of are clear on their gender and their sexuality, like the suicide rate is something like 4%. The attempted suicide rate is something like 4%. And then if you are gay or bisexual, it jumps up to like, I think 14 or 15%. And then if you have this thing, I guess the term for it is gender dysphoria, where you're kind of confused about your sexuality, who you are, what gender you are, it jumps up to almost 50%. Almost 50% of people that have something similar, akin to what Miley Cyrus has gone through life with, at least according to this most recent interview, almost half will attempt suicide, which is just an unbelievable, horrific, crying shame. And I think the only way that number gets smaller and the only way we get any better with that stuff is by people like Miley Cyrus talking about their experiences and people that are going through something similar, which nobody around them can necessarily relate to because it is rare. It is very rare. But, making it more commonplace and not that big of a deal and making people understand that, hey, that's just how you were made. That's cool. We're all cool with it. Is so much better. And then, look, people that would minimize or make fun of people or, say or do hurtful things to people over which they have absolutely no control, maybe by having a little bit better of an understanding about what folks are going through and an understanding of the fact that, an almost 50% attempted suicide rate is a horrific, horrific thing. Maybe people can chill out and go, hey, if it's not hurting me, it's not my problem. So there's that. So I actually again, not entirely sure of what pansexual means, but I'm really glad that Miley Cyrus is talking about it. Yep, that's my thoughts on that. Jeremiah, anything to add?
Besides one for my side?
No, I think it's interesting. I mean, I think it's cool. Anytime somebody comes out feeling an orientation that they what their body is telling them. That's cool. I support that. So kudos to getting that out there for more people. There you go.
Now, if we can only get Billy Ray Cyrus to claim a side.
Go on.
American Idol finalist C.J. Harris was busted for selling pot.
Wait, what?
No way.
C.J. Harris. Hold on. To Google. Do we? I mean, I haven't.
Do you really want to Google American Idol finalist C.J. Harris?
I just want to see if there's any.
Are you
going to
profile him,
this dude? I'm gonna. It disproves my theory that no one from that show can get arrested. B, I'm looking at his pictures now. No idea. No, not familiar with his work, which is probably why he had to sell the pot. I guess he's not in. I don't know. I guess he's probably not in California where it can be. Like, if you want to sell pot, go to a place where it's allowed. Like, especially if you're attempting to make a go of it as a singer. It would seem if you're a pot seller / musician, Los Angeles is a place for you. Go on.
There's too many of them here. Tiger Woods has pulled out of the Safeway Open.
Jeremiah, you a sports aficionado?
No, not really.
Jeremiah, not a golfer, are you?
Not
a golfer?
No, my uncle is a golfer. I used to caddy, but that's the extent of my golfing.
What, you used to caddy?
I used
Does
to
that mean
caddy.
like you know stuff? Like do you know, like
I was the worst.
Wear a light jacket.
I was the worst.
Use the 9 iron.
Worst caddy. I was a caddy where like I was literally like a human luggage holder. Like I just like held the bag and like knew like that you'd be like, give me a 9 iron. I'm like. He's like, the one with the 9 on it. I'm like, gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
And then
9 iron.
I would do this thing called ball spotting at tournaments. Dude, you literally are at the bottom of the hill and you look for the balls to come over the hill and land, and then you're just like,
there it is.
Hey, that's your ball right there. And then they're like, oh, great. And there's someone who's drunk and they'll give you like a $20 bill. You're like, yes. It's the easiest job ever. Just ball spotting.
There you go. Anyways, Tiger Woods pulled out of the Safeway Open partly because he's not confident in his game, but mostly because the Safeway Open is not a skanky Denny's waitress. More from Jeremiah Watkins when we return.
Real radio. 104.1.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Hey, Funkhauser, how much time do we have left?
This is it, buddy.
This is it?
Yeah.
How long's this one? You think after 3 years I would know. A quarter hour? All right. That means we got time to do a little bit more news before we grill Jeremiah Watkins on his personal politics. What else is going on in the world?
More than 25 Dead Sea Scroll fragments that were written 2,000 years ago have been released.
Which means at this point, it's easier to find pieces of the original Bible than it is to retrieve Hillary Clinton's classified emails or Donald Trump's tax returns. There you go. Jeremiah.
Yes.
Religious?
Present.
Are you a religious individual?
I grew up in a very religious household. So, yeah, I mean, I would say I currently am a very spiritual person. I pray every day, but I don't go to church anymore. I grew up in the church, but I no longer feel the need to go to church, if that answers your question.
No, it's an interesting one. Look, I think religion is a fascinating thing because we are logical creatures. We work on an if-then sort of thing. If I go up to the stove and touch it, it hurts. Therefore, I won't do that again.
Yeah.
Almost everything that we do in this world requires some sort of proof. And here's the thing: with religion, there is no tangible proof, and there is no. That's why they use the word faith, and it is the most powerful thing on the face of the planet. So I'm always fascinated as to why people believe what they believe and why they do what they do. What made you go, yes, spiritual, yes, pray every day, not so much going to church? Is it basically I believe in God, and that's where I'm at with religion. I still adhere to that part of the faith, but really people just messed up the church side for me. People in churches, I've found, can sometimes unfortunately be some of the most judgmental people because they have a certain standard that they are trying to adhere to. So they're like, they're almost like they're that person in school that like is tattling on you, kind of. Right,
it's like, Jeremiah
sure.
did this. Hey, God. Hey, Hey, this guy. Hey,
Center.
And then I don't know. I found, unfortunately, that whenever I would go to church, and for years, and this could totally be the churches that I went to in the Midwest, like in the Bible Belt, there'd be people trying to out worship each other. And like you'd hear somebody be like, "Oh, praise God," and then like they would see that, and then the other person would be like, "Oh, praise God," like like they're trying to one up each other. It's like, this is not the point of church at all. Like it becomes this weird. Like cockfighting ring where it's like, oh no, my prayers are going to be heard first. Like it's just this weird, bizarre area, and so so that's why church kind of.
Sorry, just religious cockfighting is now my new favorite term.
So honestly, the human race ruined church for me. It sounds very dark and sad, but no, I get what I need to out of praying and having. A relationship on a spiritual level with God in my own terms, but I really don't like projecting it on people. If people ask me what I believe, I'm more than happy to tell them. But I also don't like the side of church where the side of religion where you feel like whenever you're trying to have just a conversation with somebody, they're trying to shove their point of view down your throat, and I feel like that takes away from what it is adhering to any kind of faith or Christianity. It's like you're just supposed to, be a good example towards others, and if they like your style, if they're digging what you do, they'll come to you about it. There's no point in trying to force your point of view down somebody and change who they are unless they want to change, unless they're feeling something that is missing in their life. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's so well adjusted of you. And I gotta wonder that whole thing of like, I don't want to shove my point of view down anyone else's throat. The entirety of the world right now seems to be built on shoving your point of view down someone else's throat. And if they don't agree with your point of view, if they're not interested in hearing your point of view, they're an evil idiot that hates America. Like this is where we're at. And it's so well adjusted of you to not feel the need to do that. I kind of gotta wonder. And you tell me if there's anything to this. I kind of got to wonder if the reason you're able to be cool with yourself and just do the things that you do and not worry about shoving whatever it is down anyone's throat, your religion, your political beliefs, any of the above. Do you think that's because you get time on stage on a regular basis to get things off of your chest, therefore you don't have to shout about it on Facebook or in church?
I mean, that's you could easily say that, definitely, and because I get to talk on stage almost every night of the week. Now I don't necessarily talk about this kind of stuff on stage very often, but I mean, just the exercise of literally getting my thoughts out, I think, is very refreshing. And probably another reason why I'm very like laissez-faire about the whole thing is I have heard so many people's points of view through listening to so much stand-up and watching so many open mics and stand-ups and people talking in public over the years. So seeing that, I'm like, I understand and relate to people a little bit more maybe than some people who are very closed-minded. As really I used to be, being from the Bible Belt. I grew up believing certain things that I do not. It's like my stance is almost the opposite now, and then some stances I'm more middle of the road where I'm like, oh no, I can see both sides, kind of thing.
Well, I think, we've said this before over and over again on the show, love them or loathe them. I'm not asking anybody to weigh in, but I think Trump happens and Trump picks up steam and Trump has gotten to the stage in the game where he is because he's managed to make a bunch of people that have felt unheard for a long time feel heard, and it's just like, and it's so intelligent of you to say that, hey, I've witnessed a bunch of different people's point of view on stage doing comedy every single night. So many people they're narrow, and they're not narrow through any fault of their own. Look, everybody's working really hard. Everyone's working 2 and 3 jobs and getting paid less than someone doing one of those jobs would do 10 years ago. And everybody's just grinding away trying to make the very best of what they've got. And that doesn't allow time to go out and experience different cultures and absorb other people's points of view. And I think you really hit on something. Like a big part of understanding humanity might be going to the comedy club a little bit more if you can't get out and meet people.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, before I moved from Kansas to LA, I grew up in, it's a very kind of segregated part of Kansas where, I had maybe 1 or 2 black friends that were in my high school, and there was only like a dozen or so black people, or like even Asian and Mexican, very, predominantly white. And you didn't, like, if anybody was gay, they hadn't come out because they were scared to. Trans, all of that, LGBTQ, you never saw that in Kansas. So I had, it was almost like culture shock whenever I moved from Kansas to LA, but I've become, I'm just exposing myself to it. And I have so many people in those communities that are good friends of mine now that I'm very, I'm much more open-minded than I'd say I used to be. Absolutely.
And it's exposure, right? It
really is.
It's just getting a chance to be around people and see, hey, they're people too.
Well, that's the thing. Is like they're normal, just like you and I. I mean, it sounds very weird to say, but coming from a background that is very like a very sheltered background, you hear things growing up like about certain people, and then it's the not knowing. You're like, oh, are they like that? And then you build up this fear. And then for no reason, then you meet them and you're like, this person's amazing. This is one of my favorite people in my life. Like, how could I even think of that before? But it's not having the exposure to it. Why people are so closed-minded, I feel, about other people.
Yeah, and you know what? You're clearly a very intelligent individual. You're a smart guy. And it's like, people wonder, it's just like, they seem smart. How could they be closed-minded? It's so, unless you've experienced stuff, it's very difficult to get around that. And it's just like, like even an incredibly intelligent guy like you can say, hey, I was, because of where I grew up and because of the people I was surrounded by, I didn't really understand what other people were like. And you hear things, and that's all you've got to go on. You might hear a bigoted uncle or a teacher or a classmate say something, and that's your only touchstone for a different sort of person than you.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about, you're asking, like, basically successful stand-up comedians, like what that takes. Any comedian that is super successful is a very brilliant person, and I don't think a lot of people realize how smart a lot of these comics are. Regardless of what the subject matter is, it takes so much hard work and dedication, and it takes just mental longevity and endurance to be able to endure a career like stand-up comedy, and I feel like that's a trait that's in common. So hopefully I got the brains to make it in the biz.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. No, and also, like, comedy's a meritocracy. If you can make people laugh, you're up in the game. If you can't, it doesn't matter where you're from or the color of your skin or your it doesn't matter what your sexual preferences. None of that matters in comedy. It's like at least from the outside looking in, it is a meritocracy, and if you can make people laugh, that's pretty much it.
No, yeah, that's your currency. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny is money. As
money.
One as one stand-up comic once said to me. Jeremiah Watkins, thank you so much for being on the show. You've been absolutely fascinating. Super quick, please let everybody know where they can go see you and witness all that you have. Because you, like I said, so much. Podcast. There's a bunch of your stuff on YouTube. You should follow him on Twitter at Jeremiah Standup. And what else?
Yeah, also, The Bet. You had my buddy Chris J on, who's one of the writers of The Bet. Please check that out on Amazon, iTunes, on VOD. It's on almost all the digital platforms. And we are in we got accepted into the Orlando Film Festival, which is October 21st. So if you're in the Orlando area, go check out The Bet. It's a fun film with DDP, Jake the Snake, Roddy Piper's last film appearance. It was a lot of fun to work on. And check out my website, jeremiahwatkins.tv. And I'm weekly at the Comedy Store with Kill Tony, and Stand Up on the Spot is once a month. And just released a Trump's love song for Ivanka with my buddy Pat Reagan and Watkins. So check that out if you want some little fun political humor.
JeremiahWatkins.tv is where you can find all the information on all this, especially if you're a listener on Real Radio 104.1. Go see The Bet when it rolls through and plays the Orlando Film Festival. Thank you so much for hanging out, Jeremiah.
Thanks so much for having me, buddy.
Sometimes you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being the better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times. I don't think you realize what's on my mind.